So this is interesting. Joe Biden came out and gave a speech the other day, and this is being portrayed as the official launch of his 2024 campaign. So look, we've discussed it before. I'm of the belief, if your opponents are out there campaigning, your ass better be out there campaigning. So honestly, he's about a year too late for the beginning of this. And his numbers are currently not just in the basement, his numbers are under the basement. He's lost tremendous support among Arab and Muslim Americans. He was at about 60%. Now he's under 20%. He lost support among young people massively, to the point where now Trump is beating him with young people by 4 points. Trump is also now beating him with Latino voters. I mean, he is in dire straits at the moment, Biden is. And so he comes out, launches his campaign, and this is the moment that everybody's talking about. This is the moment that went viral. He's going to compare Trump to Nazis. So let's listen, and then we'll react.
Calls those who oppose him vermin. He talks about the blood of America as being poisoned, echoing the same exact language used in Nazi Germany. You can't be pro-insurrectionist and pro-American. You know, Trump and his MAGA supporters not only embrace political violence, but they laugh about it. At his rally, he jokes about an intruder, whipped up by the big Trump lie, taking a hammer to Paul Pelosi's skull, and echoing the very same words used on January 6th. Where's Nancy? And he thinks that's funny. He laughed about it. What a sick... My God.
All right, so, of course, people are debating whether or not this is fair. My final judgment on it is, yeah, Trump was literally using almost a direct quote from Hitler about how immigrants are poisoning the blood of our nation. And so if you're going to paraphrase Adolf Hitler, then don't be surprised when people say, hey, you paraphrased Adolf Hitler. If you're going to do it, then expect that reaction. So I think it's absolutely fair. So this is Biden taking the gloves off. By the way, you're also getting a taste of what his strategy is going to be moving forward. Turns out that report, I think it was from Axios the other day, that said the bulk of the campaign's time is going to be focused on effectively saying this guy is evil, he crosses the line, there's no way he's the type of person who should hold a position of power again. Basically, he's really, really, really bad. That's going to be the bulk of their campaign. Now, I mean, there's other prongs you should bring in as well. Of course, you should say, hey, here's what we did that was really good. Let me remind you of it. Let me give you the details on it. And also, here's what we plan on doing in the second administration. Here's my agenda. Here's what I'll fight for. You need to do those pieces as well. But it looks like they're going to lean into this guy's really bad. Now, in 2016, that didn't work when Hillary Clinton ran the campaign with this guy's really bad. But in 2020, when Biden did run similar style campaign, that actually worked. So is it going to work this time? I don't know, which leads me to my final point on it, which is, look, I think the Hitler comparison is fair. If you're going to use his language, you can be compared to him. But at the same time, of course, it's going to ring hollow when Biden is currently arming and funding and backing Netanyahu and the Israeli government as they slaughter massive amounts of innocent civilians daily in Gaza. You're talking about carpet bombing babies. Over 12,000 kids are dead. So, of course, it's going to ring a little hollow. And it's not like this speech is not enough, is my point. Now, if you want to change the Gaza policy, hold Netanyahu accountable, and you go out there and give this speech, well, then that's a different conversation. But it doesn't look like he's going to change the Gaza policy. It doesn't look like he's going to break with Netanyahu. And so it's going to ring a little hollow when you're like, oh my God, this guy is like that genocidal maniac. And I also support a different genocidal maniac. That's gonna ring hollow. All right, so now we have a clip here from CNN. They're going to talk about Biden doing this in his speech, and they say some interesting things.
Biden repeatedly called out Trump by name today, specifically going after Trump, and even at one point calling him a loser and comparing his rhetoric to Nazi Germany. Nazi Germany.
Yeah, it's tough rhetoric, but I think for the president, his goal here is to really raise the stakes of this election. And I also think, to David's point, President Biden wants voters out there to really enter into a level of self-reflection about what direction the country's going. And the contrast between a choice for President Biden or a choice for former President Trump in November. And he believes that contrast works in his favor. I think the other thing, that part of this, and goes to some of what Kate said, one of the most important constituencies here is the most active progressive Democrats, who right now aren't really enthusiastic about voting for Joe Biden. And they need to be enthusiastic for voting for Joe Biden by November. So this is sort of a starter's pistol, if you will, for getting those voters energized about what's at stake for this election. It also is probably a message that works well with your most persuadable voters, those voters in the suburbs. And there's a reason that he was in Pennsylvania today, because Pennsylvania is going to be one of those states where suburban voters in areas around Harrisburg and Philadelphia are going to make or break whether or not that state goes for Joe Biden. So it seems very, very carefully calculated strategy here, by the way.
So I actually agree that this is the kind of language and this is the kind of strategy that can work on suburban voters and independents. I actually agree with that. Where I disagree is young people. I think it did work in 2020. I think it's going to be a lot harder for it to work this time around. And the reason I think that, again, is because of what's happening in Gaza. Now, the Biden campaign is of the belief, and they've said this publicly, look, it'll be a long lost memory by then. It'll be gone. Nobody will even be thinking about it. And so we'll be fine. This is what they believe. I think that is incredibly naive. Because, look, young people are on the left, by and large, generally speaking, relative to other demographic groups. And this is not something you just forget. You don't just forget the carpet bombing of babies with U.S. bombs and U.S. taxpayer money. You don't just forget the total obliteration of North Gaza to the point where it's wiped off the map. You don't just forget top Israeli officials talking about an official plan of ethnic cleansing and Joe Biden not doing anything to stop it. Wagging his finger, please bomb more humanitarianly. That's not going to work. And so, look, this is a start for his campaign. But the fact of the matter is, the strategy you use, does it matter? Yes. But it's only going to matter insofar as you're within the realm of that which is the bare minimum of respectable. And right now, he's just not. He's got to stop what he's doing in Gaza. Look, we can have the conversation about he didn't go far enough on student loan debt reduction. I think that's fair. We can have the conversation about he didn't fight for raising the minimum wage across the board. He didn't do paid family leave. He didn't do paid vacation time. Build Back Better was, hatcheted all the way down. But the fact of the matter is, the polling showed prior to what was happening in Gaza, he was still in position to probably win the election. He was the favorite. Remember the midterms? All of Trump's handpicked candidates got destroyed. Trump was polling horribly. DeSantis had gone ahead of Trump in the polls for a little bit. The Democrats overperformed. Roe versus Wade is still looming large. The election denialism on the right it turns off regular voters, all sorts of regular voters. And so he actually was in a position where he was going to do all right. He was going to do fine. But when you sign off on a genocide, things seem to change. And I think they're naive for thinking that's going to go away. So I don't mind this strategy that he's doing, but you also have to pair it together with stop backing a genocidal freak. Because you can compare Trump to a genocidal freak, but the rebuttal of you're arming and funding a genocidal freak is a pretty powerful one. So until he gets his house in order in terms of his own policy direction, then even if he has a perfect strategy, I don't know if it would make the difference given how far down he is. So we'll see. This is the beginning. I'm sure there's a lot more campaigning to come. We'll keep our eye on it. But the most important thing is to change that policy, and I don't think he has it in him. Hey, y'all, do me a favor and like and subscribe. It helps out big time in the algorithm. Click the bell as well for notifications when videos drop, and watch that video on screen right now. You know you want to.